At 3:12 a.m. on August 22nd, a door opens at 847 Oakmont Terrace. A woman steps outside. Her name is Sienna Whitfield. She is 31 years old. She is dressed in gray sweatpants, a white tank top, and slip-on sandals. She carries nothing in her hands. No phone, no keys, no wallet. She pauses on the porch, glances in both directions, and descends the 3 steps to the driveway. A motion-activated light floods the area, revealing her clearly. Her movements appear uncertain, unfocused. She reaches the end of the driveway, slowly pivots in a full circle, and then heads toward the street. Across the road, a neighbor's security camera captures what happens next. At 3:13 a.m., a dark-colored sedan rolls to a stop beside her. The driver's door opens. A man steps out and walks toward her. There is no visible struggle. Sienna does not attempt to flee. They appear to exchange a few words. Seconds later, she enters the front passenger seat. At 3:14 a.m., the vehicle pulls away, traveling south along Oakmont Terrace. That moment marks the final confirmed sighting of Sienna Whitfield alive. By sunrise, her husband would realize she was gone. Within hours, police would be analyzing surveillance footage. And less than 2 weeks later, investigators would uncover that the man in the car was not an unknown predator, but someone Sienna had previously trusted, someone who had been preparing this encounter long before that night. This was not a chance meeting. It was a final movement in a carefully orchestrated abduction that had begun months earlier. Sienna Whitfield worked as a pharmaceutical sales representative for a medical device company headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. She and her husband, Daniel Whitfield, lived in the Green Hills neighborhood, an affluent and quiet residential area known for its tree-lined streets and low crime rates. Sienna was ambitious, highly organized, and well-respected by her colleagues. Her role required extensive travel, often several days each week, calling on hospitals and clinics throughout Tennessee and nearby states. She maintained detailed logs of her appointments and consistently ranked among the top sales performers in her division. Sienna and Daniel had been married for 6 years. They had no children. 3 years earlier, they had purchased their home on Oakmont Terrace. Daniel worked downtown as a financial analyst. Their life appeared stable, predictable, and secure. On August 21st, Sienna returned home from a 3-day work trip to Memphis. She arrived shortly after 6:30 p.m., had dinner with Daniel, and went to bed around 10 p.m. According to Daniel, nothing about the evening felt unusual. Sienna mentioned feeling tired from travel, but otherwise seemed normal. They fell asleep together. Just over 5 hours later, Sienna walked out the front door and vanished. Daniel woke at 7:15 a.m. The space beside him was empty. He assumed Sienna might be in the shower or preparing for work. When he called out, there was no response. He searched the bathroom, kitchen, and living room. Her car remained parked in the garage. Her purse sat on the kitchen counter. Her phone was still charging on the nightstand. Her work laptop rested inside its case near the front door. Daniel checked the home security panel. The system recorded that the front door had been opened at 3:12 a.m. and never closed again. He stepped outside. The porch and driveway were empty. The street was silent. When he called Sienna's phone, it rang upstairs. At 7:45 a.m., Daniel contacted emergency services. Metro Nashville police arrived at 8:20 a.m. Officers conducted an initial examination of the residence and surrounding area. There were no indications of forced entry or physical struggle. Sienna's personal belongings were all accounted for. Officers reviewed footage from the Whitfield's doorbell camera. The video showed Sienna exiting the house alone at 3:12 a.m., appearing calm but unsteady and walking toward the street. Detectives canvassed the neighborhood. A neighbor across the road, Richard Moss, owned a security camera that captured his driveway and part of the street. His footage showed Sienna reaching the curb at 3:13 a.m., followed moments later by a dark sedan stopping beside her. A man exited, spoke briefly with her, and then drove away with Sienna seated inside. The vehicle's license plate was not visible, and the man's facial features were obscured by shadows. At 10 a.m., Detective Angela Reeves was assigned as lead investigator, a 16-year veteran of the department. Reeves reviewed the footage repeatedly, analyzing every frame. Sienna's behavior raised immediate concerns. She had left her home without essential items, dressed in sleepwear, and entered a stranger's car without resistance. Reeves explored multiple scenarios, including voluntary departure, medical emergency, sleep disorder, intoxication, and coercion. She interviewed Daniel extensively. He reported no marital conflict, no recent distress, and no alarming behavior. Medical records showed no history of psychiatric illness or sleepwalking. Sienna was not prescribed any medications known to cause confusion or disorientation. Phone logs and email accounts were examined. All communications appeared routine. Reeves then requested Sienna's recent professional contact history. Her employer provided detailed logs of meetings, client visits, and vendor interactions. One entry drew attention. On July 18th, Sienna had met at St. Thomas Midtown Hospital with a facilities coordinator named Marcus Dio to discuss a new line of surgical instruments. The appointment lasted approximately 30 minutes and had been arranged through the hospital's procurement office. Reeves contacted hospital administrators. Dio had worked in facilities management for 2 years. His responsibilities included coordinating vendor visits, overseeing equipment deliveries, and managing maintenance scheduling. Born in Senegal, he had immigrated to the United States in 2020 and lived alone in an apartment complex in Antioch, southeast of Nashville. His employment record showed no disciplinary issues. Supervisors described him as reserved, punctual, and professional. Officers were dispatched to speak with Dio at the hospital. He confirmed meeting Sienna on July 18th. Staying the discussion focused on product specifications, pricing, and installation logistics. He said the interaction was brief and professional and denied any further contact. When officers requested permission to inspect his vehicle, Dio hesitated before agreeing. His car, a dark blue Honda Accord, was parked in the employee lot. The search revealed no immediate signs of criminal activity. Back at headquarters, Reeves returned to the surveillance footage. The dimensions and shape of the vehicle that collected Sienna matched the profile of a mid-sized sedan similar to Dio's car. She sought and obtained warrants for his phone records and apartment. On August 24th, 2 days after Sienna disappeared, officers executed a search warrant at Dio's residence. He was not present, having reported sick that morning. Inside, they found a sparsely furnished apartment containing a futon, a small dining table, and minimal kitchen supplies. In the bedroom, a mattress lay directly on the floor beside a single dresser. Inside the bedroom closet, officers discovered a laptop. Forensic analysts examined its contents. What they uncovered revealed the scope of Dio's obsession. The device contained a folder labeled with Sienna's initials. Inside were dozens of photographs taken covertly over several weeks. Images of Sienna leaving and returning home, sitting at coffee shops, walking through hospital parking structures, and conducting sales visits. There were detailed notes documenting her work schedule, travel routes, and daily routines. Investigators found saved copies of her professional profile, social media pages, and company biography. Search histories revealed queries about sedative drugs, methods for rendering someone unconscious, medication interactions, and secluded properties in rural Tennessee. Another file contained a saved location on Google Maps. A remote property approximately 43 miles south of Nashville, near the town of Lewisburg. A tactical unit was dispatched immediately. The site was a neglected rural parcel containing an abandoned farmhouse surrounded by dense woods and overgrown fields. The closest neighboring residence stood more than a mile away. Officers arrived at 4:30 p.m. The structure showed signs of long-term disuse, with shattered windows, sagging boards, and partial structural collapse. Inside, debris littered the floors. Furniture lay rotted and broken. In the basement, officers located a locked door. When forced open, it revealed a small, windowless chamber reinforced with fresh plywood. A battery-powered lantern illuminated stacks of bottled water and packaged food. On a thin mattress in the corner lay Sienna Whitfield. She was unresponsive. Emergency responders transported her to Maury Regional Medical Center. She was severely dehydrated, hypothermic, and unconscious. Toxicology tests detected significant levels of benzodiazepines and diphenhydramine in her bloodstream, sedatives capable of inducing prolonged disorientation and impaired consciousness. Sienna had been held captive for 52 hours. The search for Marcus Dio began immediately. His photograph and vehicle description were circulated statewide. Phone records showed his last known activity at 11:47 a.m. with a cell tower signal near the Tennessee-Kentucky border. On August 26, Kentucky State Police located Dio's Honda Accord abandoned in a Walmart parking lot in Bowling Green. The vehicle had been meticulously cleaned, yielding no usable forensic evidence. Authorities concluded he had switched transportation or continued on foot. The FBI joined the effort. His image appeared across national news outlets. Tips arrived by the hundreds, but none produced a confirmed sighting. On August 29th, a hiker in the land between the lake's National Recreation Area discovered a body in a wooded section off a trail. The remains were identified as Marcus Dio. He had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A handgun lay nearby. Inside his jacket pocket, investigators found a handwritten note. It offered no remorse or explanation. It contained only one sentence. She was supposed to understand. Sienna remained hospitalized for 9 days. The effects of prolonged sedation caused cognitive impairment, and it took time for the medications to clear her system. When she regained full awareness, her recollections were fragmented. She remembered waking the night feeling dizzy and confused, searching for water, opening the front door without understanding why, hearing a calm male voice, and entering a car. Everything afterward was blank. Investigators determined that Dio had entered the Whitfield home through an unlocked rear window sometime after midnight. He had likely tampered with the water pitcher kept beside Sienna's bed, administering sedatives that induced confusion and compliance. In her impaired state, she followed instructions without resistance. The farmhouse had been prepared well in advance. Supplies were stockpiled, the basement room reinforced, and isolation ensured. Digital records showed extensive planning and surveillance. Dio's motives remained unclear. His personal writings suggested delusional beliefs, including the conviction that Sienna shared a bond with him, and that their meeting indicated romantic interest. There was no evidence of communication beyond their single professional encounter. Sienna spent 8 months undergoing intensive therapy. She could not return to her former job, as travel and unfamiliar environments triggered severe anxiety. She resigned from her company. She and Daniel sold their home, unable to remain in a place so deeply tied to trauma. They relocated to a gated community in Franklin and installed an extensive security system. For more than a year, Sienna avoided leaving home alone. Insomnia, panic attacks, and hypervigilance dominated her recovery. Daniel adjusted his work schedule to remain with her during that period. Gradually, with sustained treatment and support, Sienna rebuilt her life. She launched a home-based digital marketing business that allowed her to work without travel or public exposure. 3 years later, she began speaking publicly about her experience, advocating for stronger background screening for hospital contractors and enhanced security measures within healthcare systems. Her efforts contributed to the passage of Tennessee House Bill 1847, mandating comprehensive background checks and annual security audits for hospital personnel and vendors. The legislation became known as Sienna's Law. St. Thomas Midtown Hospital implemented revised security protocols, including restricted vendor access, mandatory escorts, and upgraded surveillance systems. The Whitfield residence on Oakmont Terrace was eventually sold. The surveillance footage from August 22nd was sealed as evidence. Daniel keeps a photograph on his desk from a mountain trip taken 2 years after Sienna's rescue. In the image, she stands on a hiking trail, arms lifted in celebration. He looks at it daily, a reminder of how close he came to losing her and of the fact that she survived. Sienna Whitfield walked into the night under the influence of drugs and manipulation and into the control of a predator. She came back. That outcome, above all else, defines the story.